All right, welcome back to the Coast to Coast podcast here, just in time for the NFL season here. Week one, obviously, kind of wrapping up actually currently right now as the Ravens are playing, and that's actually an important one for me because I need Lamar Jackson to do really well tonight. But as usual, I'm joined by cousin Phil and Eric, and we're looking forward to tonight discussing a lot of NFL.
Thinks the earth is flat. So it never sat well with me.
Do you want a company that refuses to use your call box or
have to be patient? I don't understand why Chelsea gave him the tax so quickly.
You want to know who's the cheap shots, Greg? Christian Laettner. You want to know who everybody talks about? Christian Laettner. You want to know who's one of the best basketball players ever in college? Christian Laettner.
All right, before we launch into our first topic here, just a quick apology. We were supposed to bring this back this summer, and I picked up a pretty pretty exciting coaching gig for me. And unfortunately, I had to get up at 5 a.m., basically 5 to 6 days a week. And when you're doing that, and when you're me, who's not used to doing that, I'm more of a stroll out of bed, like 8:30 a.m., maybe 10:30 a.m. guy. When Monday night rolls around, Sunday night, can't do it. So that's on me.
Tom Brady would be so disappointed in you, Greg.
He would be. He'd also be disappointed in my stretching routines and my ice cream flavor selection. So honestly, as much as I adore Tom Brady, I think he'd take one look at me and just shake his head. So
you walk into TB12, he's like, no, I have the right to refuse service. Get out.
You're not. I'm not on his brand. I think I'd hurt him. So, But yeah. So with that apology, we're going to launch into our first topic here, and that is the biggest storylines from week one. And me out here in Wisconsin, so it was Sunday afternoon. My team we had a rough second half Saturday evening, so I was kind of laying on my couch. Lauren, my fiance, was texting me, asking me, "Have you been outside yet? Have you done anything yet?" And I would say yes, but I hadn't. I was just kind of moping around all day. And if there was anything that brought a smile to my face, it was the Green Bay Packers. I loved every second of their week one game. And I say this with no apologies to any Packers fan, because this is my opinion here, if you're Aaron Rodgers and you're going to make the summer about you, and I don't care what he says, that's basically what he did, you got to come out and perform. And 15 for 26, 23, less than 150 yards, no touchdowns, 2 interceptions. I just loved it. I loved every second of it. And as far as I'm concerned, let the Jordan Love era begin.
I loved it because I was playing against Aaron Rodgers in my fantasy league, and I started Ryan Fitzpatrick, who got 0.72 points. Yeah. And I was like, oh, this isn't going to be – but I want to share this text I got in the thread I'm in, and someone said, "The Rodgers revenge tour is off to a great start. He's really hurting the ones who hurt him." I was like – so when I saw that initially, I was like, oh, no, Aaron Rodgers was lighting it up. And then I checked. I'm like, what? I'm like, oh, okay. And I actually like that take. I think that's an accurate take that Aaron Rodgers – what if this is on purpose? What if he's going after Green Bay, the owners, and he's like, the revenge tour – it's not for the other teams. It's for you. I'm just going to burn this place to the ground and on my way out. And if he's that petty, like, I kind of admire that level of pettiness to be like, you know what? You're so fed up with an organization. You know how people like dream of quitting the job that they hate? And they're like, I'm going to just do all this and just do it at the worst time possible. And I'm just going to walk out and just screw everyone. I feel like that's what Rodgers is doing. Like, if it's on purpose, like, you have to admire that level of pettiness to be like, I'm going to do this to my employer. I'm going to stick it to the man. So if that performance was on purpose, because that was an all-timer, like, just terrible, like, I salute you. MVP.
I don't think he's trying to do it, but I definitely don't think he was upset about it, right? You saw his body language sitting on the bench, right? Like, I don't think he's trying to throw picks, but like, every other quarterback, good, bad, or indifferent in the NFL, you throw a pick, you go back, you get the iPad, you flip through, you talk with your offensive coordinator, quarterback,
or you scream at some people.
Right? He's literally arms out, like sitting there, like helmet off on the helmet rack thing, and it's like, this guy legitimately does not care. Because let's face it,
he's on his way out.
when he leaves next, after this year, when he leaves or whenever they decide, whatever they decide, like he's going to go someplace, make a ton of money and play for the next 4 years. Like, and he'll probably rip 2 or 3 of those years, up. Like he'll be probably pretty good, but I just don't think he's going to care. I think he's going to take a ton of shots down the field, trying to go all or nothing, try to get his. And if he throws picks, he throws picks. It doesn't matter, like, to him.
I really hope it's the petty narrative. I just hope he's just.
That would be epic. I mean, what did Jordan Love do well? I was just kind of basking in Packers fans.
I don't know.
Like that. Yeah.
No, I watched him. I watched him throw his picks and watched him. I mean, that was a rebuilding Saints defense, by the way, too. Like, nobody thinks that Saints defense is like.
That wasn't supposed to happen.
A top 5-6 defense in the league. Like, we're talking about a defense that has been known to give up points and everything. And one of their best players is like a Jenkins and stuff. Like, they're not that good. And I mean, he like that looked like the 85 Bears out there playing against a nobody.
How scared should Packers fans be? So I'd be terrified. Personally.
I think it's a weak division. I mean, Minnesota just lost to the Bengals. I'm not saying the Bengals aren't improving and stuff, but like, I had a, survivor pool, and I'm like kind of stuck with whoever, the Bengals are playing. You pick them, and, Joe Burrow goes out and does what he does. But like, I think they'll be fine. They're going to make the playoffs. But I honestly think that in the midst of that, like, the only reason they make the playoffs is because how bad the division is. And he's going to tear apart that locker room as much as he can. Like, it's always going to be about himself.
Yeah. It's interesting because I feel like if you're a Packers fan and you're looking for hope, right? Like, the Packers could lose the next 7 games, or they could win them, and I wouldn't be surprised. Like, who's going to be surprised if the Packers like rip off 7 wins? Sure. And that's always there with Aaron Rodgers. So I think that's what you hold on to if you're a fan. But if you follow the summer, if you know that if you had any hope at the beginning of the year,
Packers are
if you had any hope that Rodgers was staying, if you're a Packers fan, die hard, like it's got to be gone. It's gone.
Yeah, it's over.
Does anyone actually think like he worked hard this summer? Like, he's talked about how he was mulling retirement and stuff. If you're mulling retirement, you're not grinding.
He worked really hard on that man bun.
Sure.
It is pristine. It's
classic. But like, that does show you that like a guy like Tom Brady that's 5 or 6 years older than him, or any top quarterback in the league, a guy like Dak Prescott, like, he looked awesome the other night. And just how hard it is to be that good, because we're all going to say Aaron Rodgers is obviously a talented quarterback throughout his career, like physically, what he does with the ball, what he could do on the run and all that, but how much training that actually took. And for him to do the Jeopardy takes, for him to do, it's almost like a team that just won the Super Bowl for the first time. They go on all the, they go on the White House tour, they do all this, live show and everything, and they don't get that training regimen in because they're doing other things. And then they come back the next year and they start out the season, 3-5, and everybody's like, what happened to this team? It's the same type thing, only he hasn't done crap in the last 2. I mean, he was the MVP, but like, we're talking a guy that wants to go down as one of the best in the history of the game. You can't have.
Does Rodgers care about that?
Like, winning?
He cares about his hair.
No. I mean, like, does Rodgers care if he's the best ever?
No,
I don't know if he does.
Because I think he's packed it in that like he's never going to be the best ever.
Yeah. Packed it in. Nice pun.
Seems complacent. All right. Eric, what do you got? Biggest week 1 storylines.
It's kind of like a two-parter where there's so many young quarterbacks now that can come into this league and perform right away. And the biggest storyline is after this little part that I'm going to talk about. You had so many first and second year quarterbacks starting yesterday and doing well. I mean, a Mac Jones, even a Tua. I know he made one bad throw, but he managed the game, right? Miami is manage the game, use your defense, play field position, and then go attack when you can attack.
He did what they needed to do to win.
Exactly. And Mac Jones did what they needed to do to win. And, Joe Burrow comes back. Justin Herbert is probably the next dude as far as what they did, because they played a legitimate NFL defense in Washington and actually had a couple things go against them, like the fumble down at the end zone wasn't a fumble. Like, there was a bunch of stuff that happened, and normally Chargers lose those games, but I think Justin Herbert is now the quarterback to be like, no, we're going to win this game. I'm going to figure it out. And, I think he's got a bright future. And there's Jalen Hurts. For me being an Eagles fan, I was super happy to see his poise. I thought he handled the offense well. I know Atlanta sucks on defense. Nobody's got to be like, oh, he went out and beat it, but they scored 32 points. So, I mean, 32 points in the NFL is still 32 points. But the fact, with all that being said, is Matt Nagy has to be the worst coach in the NFL. Because the Bears have literally, like, I'm watching the Bears game and they're talking about how the Bears have never had a good quarterback, like a franchise quarterback, even when they won the Super Bowl in 80, 85, 86, whatever it was. Like, have never had, like, Rex Grossman took them to a Super Bowl when Peyton beat them in the Super Bowl with the Colts, right? Like, and Devin Hester was the whole offense, and he just returned punts and kickoffs for touchdowns, and they'd win 10-7.
That was one of the worst Super Bowls to ever watch.
It was bad. But you've got a guy who runs a 4-4, who throws the ball 70 yards on the run, 60 yards on the run, and you are starting Andy Dalton, all because when he was
the Red Rocket.
Yeah, when he was in San Francisco, or when he was in Kansas City, Alex Smith started over Patrick Mahomes, which is obviously the phenom of the league. It's the future. He's going to be around for 12, 15 years. Well, here's a newsflash, Matt. Alex Smith was the number 1 draft pick overall and won NFL football games, like playoff games. You know, he made the 49ers good. You know, Colin Kaepernick took his job based on an injury. Like, Alex Smith then went to Kansas City. Kansas City was a rebuilding type franchise. He won with them.
I actually drafted Justin Fields in a league just because you know it's inevitable that he's going to take over this year.
But
so, like,
how is
Go ahead.
I think it was, you know, he had promised Andy Dalton the starting job when they signed him, and then they drafted Justin Fields. And I feel like putting him out against the Rams, again, they're probably going to lose. It's almost like the sacrificial lamb. Like, we're giving up Andy Dalton to the Rams to destroy. So then we can be like, oh man, well, we got to pivot to Justin Fields now. And they can be like, well, we gave him a shot.
But they talked about that all last night. Aaron Donald had 2 quarterback hurries going into the fourth quarter. Like, Andy Dalton wasn't under a terrible amount of pressure all night. And to be honest with you, I didn't think he played that bad. I mean, I think the Rams are legit.
Yeah.
But you're talking a guy like Joe Burrow goes to Cincinnati and plays in arguably the best defensive division in football last year and was doing well with way less weapons, way less anything in an unbelievable division, and was doing really, really well until he got hurt because he didn't have anybody to block for him. You know, you're talking about a guy, like, did you see him score that touchdown? The team mobbed him. Like, it's very apparent. The fans are booing Andy Dalton in training camp, and Justin Fields is the one that comes out and says, hey, we got to stop booing this guy like he's part of our team. We want to cheer for him.
If you drafted him to be the guy, like, I don't understand this waiting stuff. Like, I get it. He might take his licks. There might be some growing pains. But you know what? He's not going to be the guy if he doesn't have the mental capacity to handle those growing pains. So you might as well start now. Like, I don't believe in this development stuff holding a clipboard. Like, it just doesn't make any sense to me.
The quarterbacks have come such a long way since even Rodgers did it in like 05, 06, 07, whatever those years were. Like, the game has come such a long way. Think about all of the quarterback camps, the offenses now that are, because this was the big thing. Colleges ran a different type of offense than the pro style. Yeah. Literally, they called it the pro style. Well, now majority of the teams are running non-pro style offenses in the pros.
Well, and I think that you can see too that there was a shift, and I don't think the league has really caught on as much. Like when Russell Wilson, Andrew Luck, Robert Griffin came in, they were rookies and they lit up the league, and that talent's been there. But I think sometimes GMs try to outsmart themselves because when they see a Patrick Mahomes, when they see the Aaron Rodgers, when they see that, oh, they had a couple years and that's why they're so good. Patrick Mahomes still would have been that good. Yeah. Like, maybe he's not his rookie year getting 50 touchdowns, but like, he's still a really good quarterback that is still going to be there in 2 or 3 years. Like, he's not, just because he sat out 1 year doesn't mean that he wouldn't have had that success year 2 had he started his rookie year. I think
was sitting behind a legitimate NFL quarterback. Like Alex Smith was a
guy
legitimate,
that's won plenty of games. Like,
and Aaron Rodgers was sitting behind a Hall of Famer.
Whoa. Andy Dalton went to the playoffs a lot of times.
And lost every game.
He even considered winning a game. He's considered it.
Nagy, I don't know if that dude's going to finish the year.
I don't
frankly.
think so.
Yeah, maybe they'll bring in Adam Gase.
Too soon.
All right, Philip, what do you got?
Yeah. So Tom Brady threw 4 touchdowns, 2 interceptions, and the 2 interceptions, one was a Hail Mary at the end of the half. Doesn't really count. That other was off of Leonard Fournette's hand, like basically hot potatoed it to the defense. And this idea, I keep hearing it, like his age, like what do they think is going to happen? Like all of a sudden he won't be able to throw the ball 30 yards. Like that's not how, like a lot of people can do that into their 50s, 60s. He chucked like a 46-yard touchdown to Antonio Brown, just deep. This narrative and belief that people have that all of a sudden he's going to get so old that he's going to forget how to throw the football is so insane. Like
I think the league should be very afraid based on what we saw on that opening game.
Yeah. And it's like Brett Favre. Like Brett Favre could walk on a football field today, handball, he could chuck it 50 yards.
In his Wrangler jeans.
In his Wrangler jeans.
He wears the copper fit. So that's
in the copper fit. So, but the only thing is the only thing that can stop the league from Tom Brady because of how hard he works in the offseason, how hard he trains.
Lots of jeopardy.
And is if he gets addicted to jeopardy, he's like, I'm going to host that, or he gets injured. Like maybe his age makes him more prone to some injuries, which I could buy into. But if he stays healthy, like this, people have this idea of like, well, if he stays healthy, he'll forget how to throw a football because when you forget things when you're old. Like that's not going to happen. Like so, people need to move off it and just if you hate Tom Brady, like if you want to wish injury on a player, then you can. But I think that's a terrible thing to do.
Enjoy this greatness while it's still here.
He could play for another 10 years. I believe it.
I don't think he can play for 10 years, but I think
if he doesn't get injured. If he doesn't get injured, like that's the only thing that it could end his career is injury, not age. And
I would say that definitely an injury ends it, right? The only thing that can end Tom Brady's career is Patrick Mahomes.
I mean, we just saw
besides injury, the only thing that's because the AFC
is Giselle's like we're done here and just drags him out and hires a man to like kidnap him for a season.
In a football sense, the only the Bills and the Steelers and all them should literally give way to Kansas City if they want this guy out of the league because Patrick Mahomes is going to be the only one that has the guts for all you kids out there. I'm not going to use what he actually needs, but like he's got the guts to go beat him because he's actually put his team in a situation to beat Tom Brady a couple times. Obviously lined up off sides, on their defense, with a pick. I mean, and then last year he had no offensive line, with a really good Tampa Bay, scheme, Todd Bowles, all those guys rushing him, and the game was still close. I mean, really, like they don't score a touchdown. Whoever would have, there was so much money lost in that bet. But Patrick Mahomes is the only person that can end Tom Brady's career football-wise outside of an injury.
They could beat him, yeah. Well, yeah. So, end that narrative.
Another 10 years. I hope an injury doesn't end it. That would be sad. That'd be very sad. But, Evander Holyfield, I think he was boxing last weekend, and he's like 58. So
he can't form sentences, but good example.
Yeah, great.
I mean, it's not like boxing's a little bit different. You're taking shots one after the other. I mean, what's Tom Brady's going to get hit like maybe 3-4 times a game?
Well,
maybe he could do it.
Yeah, and that's not to mention, too, we talk about injury. He won the Super Bowl with a torn MCL.
Yeah.
He played better after he tore his MCL. Like, I don't know how you stop. I literally think it's like a terrible injury or Giselle finally convinces him to retire.
Or jeopardy or a man bun. All things that could possibly stop him. Take notes, Wisconsin people.
Yeah.
All right. Way too early overreactions to week 1. Aaron Rodgers will not finish this year as a starting quarterback for Green Bay.
Why do you hate everyone in your state?
Yeah, I was going to say, man, this is bad for recruiting.
Right? No kidding.
We don't do a whole lot of local recruiting. Actually, we got a couple of good Wisconsin guys this year, but I just don't
Greg's
see it
happening. Greg's gonna go to the bar and he's gonna like be like that kid at the cafeteria that's looking for a place to see it and sit, and everyone's like, not here.
Putting their bags on empty chairs, like, no, somebody's coming.
I'm just feeling it. Whether it's the petty narrative, the too much jeopardy over the summer narrative, the man bun narrative.
It'd be a fake injury by Rodgers. That's the reason why he stopped.
Or that.
It'd be a fake injury.
That would be Jordan Love coming in. There's like, Rodgers is hurt.
Yeah.
I could see that. But that's my overreaction. I think it's done. I think
I'm going to stop just burying Packers fans and like, I'm sorry, but yeah. Like actually, no, I don't know. But that's a great overreaction. But sorry, Wisconsin.
Eric, what do you got?
The Los Angeles Rams are legitimate Super Bowl contenders. And I'm saying that based on, I know Matt Stafford has never won a playoff game. I mean,
he can play though. He can throw
did you see his body? Like he was big in Detroit. He had gained weight. He hadn't worked out the proper way. Last night, you're looking at him. And I was like, just in his pads and stuff like that. And I'm like, I mean, he must have lost 20 pounds, I bet. And I didn't look that up to see.
I feel like that's a quote that's never been said about Matthew Stafford. Have you seen his body? Like,
but like now, seriously, look at it. I feel like he's so rejuvenated. I mean, Detroit is just a place where
dreams
careers have got to go to die. So like he starts his career there, and he's got some legitimate weapons early in his career, like Calvin Johnson and all those guys. But like, man, they just totally packed it in on him, especially when Matt Patricia got hired. Like, there goes any offense we could possibly generate. Mm-hmm. And now you look at him and you're like, new stadium, one of the best offensive minds in the game, running the offensive game plan. He has great weapons. Defense. Like, it's a really good defense. I've always liked Sean McVay. I think, he got kind of Belichicked in the Super Bowl, where it was like, hey, well, welcome to like real football now. You're
Kiss
doing
the rings.
You're doing reports.
Dude needs
on
a get back coach. I can't stand Sean.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, he's got to get back. But I think, honestly, that was a knockdown for him too. Like, oh, this is why Belichick or all the all-time greats like succeed, because they don't let that crap get in the way. I mean, where is there a hole? I know they have a running back situation, but really, is the NFL about, winning running backs now? Like, you can take a running back and make him anything. I mean, Tyson Williams tonight has 15 points in the first half in fantasy, and he was like legitimately the 5th string running back going into the season for the Ravens. So I think they're a legitimate contender, and I get it. It's the first game. I get it. They're in a really hard division, but I think they're a legitimate contender.
To be fair, though, is that an overreaction? Because a lot of people we're pegging them to win the Super Bowl before the season started.
But I don't think, but not.
Can you call it a dynasty? That's what I want. I want you to say the Rams are a dynasty. That's not an overreaction.
Chance. That's just a false statement.
An overreaction. I don't think you have that many. I mean, you're on the West Coast too. You don't have that many people talking about the Rams winning the Super Bowl.
Well, a lot of people are picking them to go to the Super Bowl. Sure.
I would say
the other day.
Yeah, before the other day.
I would say you have. I would say you have Tampa.
I'd say that's an overreaction.
You have the 49ers. I think were probably better than the Rams before last night. Just based on they have like one of the top 2 defenses probably. I mean, I know they gave a crap ton of points and stuff, but like, I think when you look, I mean, I'll pick the Rams to go Super Bowl. Like, if that's what you want as an overreaction.
I'm actually changing my biggest overreaction.
I picked the Rams to go to the Super Bowl.
My biggest overreaction is all this hype about the Rams. That's my biggest overreaction. I think it's all misplaced. I don't think. I think Matt Stafford can throw the football, but I don't think he's a Super Bowl quarterback. All right, Philip, what do you got? Biggest overreaction from week 1?
This team was a popular pick last year to get to the Super Bowl. Probably a popular pick to get far with the weapons they added. And I'm going to say the Titans don't even make the playoffs.
I agree.
Ooh.
So that is my overreaction.
Wait, you think don't even make the playoffs?
Wow.
In that division?
Yep. Well, when the Cardinals looked like pretty bad in the preseason, and they light you up like that.
Preseason.
It's preseason, but still, they look bad. And when you get lit up by them, I don't know. They did nothing. They're supposed to be. They added Julio Jones. They got Derrick Henry, Tannehill, and AJ Brown. Like, they did nothing. The Cardinals aren't known for anything. They're in a tough division, but like, what have the Cardinals done in recent memory? So I'm going to say that's my overreaction. Again, we're supposed to have an overreaction, not a mild reaction. So I was going to say, I don't think the Titans, I'm going to say Titans don't make the playoffs. And because that happens every year. Every year we have a team that we think is like a lock for the playoffs that made it last year. That just falls off. Like, this year could be the Packers on one side and it could be the Titans on the other. I'm calling my shot now, calling it early. I'm going to say the Titans don't make the playoffs. You could call your shot on the Packers if you want to. But that's the other thing with the Rams, right? On the other side, why they could make the Super Bowl, it's like outside your division, you get past that. But you got the Bucks and the Packers that you have to go through. And Packers don't look that scary, so you just have to kind of go through the Bucks. And
but their division, they've got to play each. I mean, that's 6 games that you could potentially lose.
Division's brutal.
There's no way Derrick Henry can repeat what he did last year either. I mean, I hope he can. He's in a keeper league of mine, but there's no way.
Really, Ryan Tannehill isn't that. I mean, I get it. You added Julio Jones, who like you're always going to take him. Like if any of our teams got Julio Jones, we'd be happy.
Yeah.
But like it takes a year to get a type of guy like Tannehill in sync with a guy like Julio. We're not walking out here. Tannehill, isn't a top 5 quarterback in the league where it's like I could throw to anybody. You know, it's going to take that relationship time.
Yeah.
He's not. I don't think he's a volume passer.
No.
So and Julio and AJ, that they need volume, and I think there was a bit of an overreaction of like, well, Tannehill, he escaped Adam Gase and he's going to be really good. It's like, no, he's good because he has Derrick Henry and he can do play action, and everyone thinks it's going to go to him, and then he has open chances to move. But I think when people start to play off to the pass, like he's going to get shut down.
That defense looked bad. I mean, like you're talking Mike Vrabel's supposed to be like some great defensive guy, and like, what game plan did they go in with? Like, yeah, we're just going to rush Kyler and let him run around like it's 7-on-7. I mean, there was no game plan. That's what's scary.
They can't see him back. To be fair, they can't see him back there.
Yeah, it's fair. He just hides.
All right, moving along here. We're going down south. Jacksonville, Urban Meyer. Does this guy have a future in the NFL as a coach? That's Eric. You're probably the biggest college football fan in here, I would think. I'm curious what you think of this first.
I think there's no shot he is a successful NFL coach.
Under of years until he's retired, or until he's fired. What do you set the over under at?
Next 2022-2023 season.
So like 1 year.
Yeah, because I think you have no market. I mean, Greg, we've been to Jacksonville. There's no market down there.
I forgot about that.
Right?
Because it felt like a Vikings home game. And the Vikings weren't good back then either.
I don't think
Now they're better than the Packers.
I don't think Trevor Lawrence is a big-time quarterback. He's won in a bad ACC. Obviously, he was the best player in high school, so whatever. He never lost a game. He was the best player in high school. He never lost a regular season game at Clemson, but he played in a bad ACC, really bad. For those of you that don't follow college football, the ACC was awful over the last 4, 5, 6 years. And I don't think he's
doing going to Jacksonville.
I think he's done this though everywhere he's gone. He went from Utah to Florida, and then he gave up Florida at the peak of his career. Then he stopped.
A big time school,
and then he went to Ohio State.
You can win at all those schools. This isn't like going to Florida. This is going to like Southern Alaska.
You're going to a mid-major. Yeah, no, it's so much harder to turn around an NFL franchise Pete Carroll is probably the only successful college coach that has come in the NFL. And I mean, he's won a Super Bowl. Now he also got fired by the Patriots, way back when. So it's not like it was the first time. Nick Saban tried to do it. Well, he's the greatest college football coach of all time.
Jim Harbaugh did it for a time.
But he also then got run out of San Francisco. And he's not that good of a coach, period, because he
did make a Super Bowl, though.
Yeah, he made a Super Bowl, but yes, okay, he made a Super Bowl. Absolutely. Okay, so he's successful for a year. No problem. He had a bunch of weapons around him. And he also blew a second half lead to his brother. Like the lights went out, and he doesn't know how to make changes and stuff like that. And they got beat because that's who he is. That's why they can't beat Ohio State. That's why Michigan will never be that good of a program. But to answer the Urban Meyer question, what you demand in college is I can go pick that guy because he's my guy. I love him. I'm Urban Meyer, so any of the top 100 recruits in the country are going to come either play for me or Nick Saban, and we're going to win. Because if you don't pan out, I just get rid of you because I've got 3 more of you on the bench or another coming in next year. That's not pro football.
No, it's so much easier to create a culture at the college level like that when you're at a school like that.
Absolutely.
And you can't do the stuff that makes a lot of those programs successful is the cultures, winning year after year. Like you said, the control you have of bringing in players. Like now you're in Jacksonville, which is like the basement of the NFL. You don't get to handpick your players like this. And quite frankly, you don't get to push your players like you do at the college level. At the college level, the guys don't have a choice. Like they've made their decision to go there. They're stuck with you. I mean, yeah, they can transfer. But at the NFL, it's like it's just completely different. And I think this is going to be it's going to be a train wreck. By the sounds of it, it already is a train wreck.
Hang on. The Jaguars are used to train wrecks. That's where they live.
And that's
they
why
were born in the darkness.
I don't get why he went there. Like you have to look at the situation and be like, yeah, this is a good idea. Like, not a chance.
So I heard he was reportedly, because I looked this up because I wanted to know his contract when picking this over under. And it was reportedly that he was asking for $12 million a year. He was getting like 6.5 in college. So I would say he lasts 2.5 seasons. And here's why. One, Jacksonville fans are terrible, and they're not going to care, and they're not going to put up a big fuss to get him fired because it's Jacksonville, and they're used to the darkness. Two, he's going to use the first year as Trevor Lawrence. Well, he was a rookie. He was adjusted. We're getting used to him. We're the last place team. We're building something. We're building for the future. So he gets the second year. end of the second year, they're like, you got to show up. You got to show us progress. They get him in the third year, and by halfway through the season, he's fired. So, because he's not going to get results. So that's how I see it playing out. But also, like, can he succeed? I want to put some perspective. Last year, Jacksonville were the biggest underdogs in week 1, going into week 1 against the Indianapolis Colts. Biggest underdogs. I know this because I'm in a Survivor League, and half the league picked the Colts because the Jaguars were trash. They had Gardner Minshew. Jacksonville won that game. This year, game 1, you're playing the Texans. The Texans are a sandlot football team. They're just picking guys off the street. They're like, you go to a backyard basketball game. You're like, I guess I'll pick Reggie. He's like, I don't have my shoes on. You're like, Reggie, get on the field. Like, that is the Texans. And they got destroyed.
Yeah, destroyed.
It wasn't close. Destroyed by the Texans, who people were thinking, like, they won't win a game.
Yeah.
That I heard people wondering, like, could they beat a college football team? Would they be able to score on a college football team? And he has real NFL players. And allegedly, and what people are calling a generational quarterback, whether you agree with that or not, but that's been the tell of Trevor Lawrence for years in college, and they got destroyed. Like, he's not a good coach, and the only reason it'll last so long is because of how big his contract probably is. Because again, they're not going to want to bail on that and just pay dead money, because he would probably love that. And it's Jacksonville; they don't care. They're like, oh, we got a quarterback, and it's terrible. But I can't believe how bad they were against the Texans. It's not like they got destroyed by the Chargers or the Rams or anything like that. The projected worst team in football.
There's so many quarterbacks that are anointed as like franchise quarterbacks that don't pan out coming to college, and people give the titles that they're giving Lawrence way too early. Like, it's receivers that are open in college, they don't get open like that in the NFL. And these guys that come out of these top tier programs, like these guys are surrounded by like 3 future NFL wide receivers, and half their games they're going up against guys that are not going to be playing pro football in a couple months or 2 years. Like, I don't know.
Now, do we think that
like
Jacksonville got Urban Meyer because he's a Florida guy, right? Like, his family resides in Florida. His girls, went to Florida high schools and all that stuff, right? Do you think it's like Florida doesn't have any state income tax, right? So like paying for players getting free agents, stuff like that.
Yeah.
Like, he's a hot commodity based on the offensive style that he runs, things like that. So no, you can't draft. I don't think it's going to work regardless, because Urban Meyer, I think, has been like, his anxiety is the reason why he left Florida. It's the same reason really he left Ohio State, but they didn't make as big of a stink about it, because he went from Ohio State. I looked it up. They were 6-7 the year before he got there. They were under all the probation stuff and everything.
Yeah.
The year he got there, they went 12-0. And if they didn't play under probation, they would have gone to the national championship. Like, I think that's how fast you can turn around a blue blood college football program. And you're going to Jacksonville. Like, you're not going to Green Bay.
I think it's got to be ego too, right? Like, when you've had that success, the success that you've just named, and you're also competitive, and you're like, I want to do it on a bigger stage. I think part of it is like, you think that no team, like, you can turn around any team. They're like, yeah, I can get there. And it's a good landing spot when you have the number 1 pick too, right? In this quarterback that people are touting. The last time people really touted a generational quarterback was Andrew Luck. And that was a pretty good hit. He was a really good quarterback. So I think, like, when people tag it like this, it can actually be pretty indicative. There's people that we have a lot of hype for that don't work out. But that term, the way that Trevor Lawrence was hyped, I feel like I'm not in or out. I'm just interested to see, because I don't know what the scouting reports are and how people make those decisions. But I think it's got to be a big part of his ego of like, yeah, I can turn around anything. I can do this. If I can do it in Jacksonville, I'll be immortal. You'll be immortalized.
He told people that, or he's quoted, and I forget which publication, but he said, like, it's the last mountain that he has to climb, the NFL.
Florida doesn't have mountains, and you're going to get
he's just out in Florida. Like, where's the
some people weren't meant to climb certain mountains. And Jacksonville, I don't think anyone's meant to climb that mountain. I think they're meant to cease to exist in a couple of years as an NFL franchise. All right, last segment we got here, and you guys actually don't know what's coming. It is rapid fire. This will be, I know what we said we didn't have one. Turns out we do. So I've been
deceived.
Yep. You guys can say true or false. It's only, you know what? It's going to be 4 questions. Four questions. And true or false. And you
feels more like semi-auto fire. Like, it's just like slow. Pew, pew, like
Eric, you're going to answer first. Philip, you're going to answer second.
Okay.
All right. True or false? Tom Brady beats Bill Belichick.
True.
All right. Cam Newton takes 1 snap this year or more.
False. Oh, sorry.
False.
Aaron Rodgers starts 17 games.
True.
Wow. Urban Meyer wins 4 games or more.
False.
Too slow, Philip. Too slow.
True. Oh, God.
I was curious.
True. Oh, my goodness.
Yeah, I don't know. I'll give him 5.
We'll switch. Yeah.
Ooh,
I'll give him 5.
5 and
Holy
12?
cow.
That could
5
happen.
and 12.
You should be the president of the Urban Meyer Booster Club.
I mean, if he really does have a good quarterback, it's definitely doable. But all right, thanks for listening. That's
Wait.
What? One more? Oh no, I don't like where you're going.
Phil,
What's up?
did you watch the Mets-Yankees game last night when Stanton hit the home run?
Oh, is there a bat flip?
No, and stopped at shortstop and started screaming, and there was an almost brawl because everybody was bat flipping. Lindor was talking crap. I'm going to tell you something, Phil. It was excellent baseball. And
Let's go.
I miss that type of baseball. Like Stanton literally stopped at shortstop and looked at Lindor and said, "Stop talking shit." And benches came out. It was awesome. You gotta watch.
He should have been like, then strike me out next time.
it was good baseball.
Eric, I got a question for you.
There we
What
go.
and I actually know the answer to this. What happens when someone gets ejected after they hit a home run while they're rounding the bases? And it has happened.
What happens when somebody gets ejected as?
Like, let's say someone, whoever you're just talking about, Stan, hit the home run and he started talking smack around second base and got ejected. What happens?
Is it an out?
Yeah, run doesn't count.
Whoa.
Really?
Yeah, fun fact. And it has happened a couple times. I actually don't know if it's an out. I shouldn't, but I do know the run doesn't count.
Also, that umpire's a scumbag. Like, give me a break. Like, what are we doing?
Stupid.
Yeah. Dude, I want baseball players to like be doing TikTok dances across after they hit home runs.
What was
you see where we took that? I tried to give them a little bit.
I appreciate it. No, we got to move on from
TikTok.
the bat flip. We need to be doing TikTok
There's an
dances.
old school video game, MLB Slugfest, and Philip, I think that is your dream scenario for baseball. It's like, sure. I think it was like the same brand as NFL Blitz. Like you had pitchers. You had pitchers that would catch on fire and suddenly they're throwing like guys. It was MLB Slugfest, great game. But all right, that's our show. Thanks for listening this week. We'll be back Monday, 10 o'clock Eastern, 7 o'clock West Coast, 9 o'clock Central. It'll be regular.
Pacific.
Thanks for listening. We're on Spotify, just basically everywhere you can get podcasts, but we're also on Facebook and YouTube Live every Monday. That's 10 o'clock Eastern, 7 o'clock West Coast. Thanks for listening.
Coast to Coast Podcast is hosted by Greg Gilmore. That's me, Philip Marino. The show is produced and roughly edited by yours truly. Feedback, you can always reach us via email at talkcoasttocoastpodcast@gmail.com. Again, that's talkcoasttocoastpodcast@gmail.com. Thanks for listening.